Hello duelists, Low Tier Hero here, welcoming you to another video on Draw Phase. Today we're diving deep into the mythical world of the Mikanko deck. This archetype, with its intricate dance of equipped spells and versatile monsters, has been making waves in the competitive scene. But no deck is without its weaknesses, as we always say here on Draw Phase. That is why we create these counter guides. Stick with me as we uncover the top counters to ensure you're never caught off guard by the shimmering might of the Mikanko. And if you're new here or haven't done so yet, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all of our content. The Mikanko deck is an intricate archetype that hinges on the synergy between its monsters and equipped spells. The central theme revolves around manipulating battle interactions, where battle damage that should be inflicted on the Mikanko player is deflected onto their opponent. This unique mechanic not only provides a defensive shield against potential threats, but also turns every confrontation into a potential liability for their opponent. The monsters within the deck have dual states, one where they are unequipped, providing the player with battle protection, and another when they are equipped, unlocking powerful effects that range from searching key components to commandeering control of opponents' monsters. The deck's reliance on equipped spells is evident, but it's complemented with tools that fetch these spells effectively. To bolster its core strategy, the deck incorporates a ritual summoning component, bringing forth Ohime, the manifested Mikanko, a potent monster with protective and aggressive capabilities. In essence, the Mikanko archetype presents a dance between protection, disruption, and aggression. Each card is choreographed to play a part in this playstyle, ensuring the player remains guarded while keeping the opponent consistently on their toes. The key cards in the Mikanko deck. To begin with, we have Hari, the Sword Mikanko. This card serves as a primary defensive and offensive tool. Its effect ensures the player is shielded from battle damage when unequipped, and when equipped, it redirects potential harm to the opponent. Additionally, its ability to search Mikanko equipped spells makes it a critical card for consistency and setting up their boards. Nini, the Mirror Mikanko. Beyond the damage redirection and protection, Nini offers a disruptive capability. By commandeering an opponent's monster during their turn, the player can disrupt potential combos or simply use the opponent's resources against them. Hu Li, the Jewel Mikanko. While it shares the characteristics of battle protection and redirection of its counterparts, Hu Li's real strength lies in his protective aura for other Mikanko cards against targeted effects. This makes it harder for the opponent to break the Mikanko board. Moreover, its ability to search out Mikanko traps can set up defensive plays. Ohime, the manifested Mikanko. As the ritual centerpiece of the deck and its boss monster, Ohime offers more than just battle protection. Its search capability ensures the player has access to any Mikanko card, while its quick effect to equip spells from the graveyard can rejuvenate resources or set up protection or disruption. Mikanko Water Arabesque. Now, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that card right, but here's the picture anyways. This equipped spell is multifaceted. It not only offers protection against card effect destruction, but also facilitates the swarming of the field with Mikanko monsters. This rapid deployment of resources can catch opponents off guard quickly and establish board dominance. The Great Mikanko Ceremony. The quick play spell offers flexibility in summoning Mikanko monsters, providing unpredictability in plays. Its secondary graveyard effect also ensures that the player can set up future plays or recycle key resources. The last card on the key card list for the Mikanko strategy is not a Mikanko card directly, but it is a huge supporting tech for decks that basically run equipped spells, and that card is Hidden Armory. Given the deck's heavy reliance on equipped spells, Hidden Armory acts as a vital tool to ensure the player has consistent access to these spells, either by searching for them in the deck or recycling from the graveyard. Understanding the synergies and the timing of these key cards is essential for navigating the Mikanko strategy effectively and knowing how to counter the deck as well. Properly leveraging their effects can make the difference between establishing an unbreakable board or falling short in the face of opposition. Some of the win conditions for the Mikanko deck that you should keep your mind on when you are dueling against the Mikanko deck is the battle damage redirection and accumulation. One of the standout features of the Mikanko monsters is their ability to redirect damage, as I previously mentioned in this counter guide. By repeatedly inducing battles where the Mikanko player would take damage, the opponent will find themselves taking the hits instead. Over a few turns, this can accumulate significant damage and put the opponent in a precarious position, especially if they are unaware or unprepared. And when you get yourself to the Diamond and the Master Realm of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, you're going to see Mikanko almost everywhere. It's almost like they have become the new trap deck or the new chain burn deck. It's a very tough strategy to beat, and if you don't time yourself appropriately or prepare yourself enough with generic meta counters that we will produce here in this video, you will find yourself losing from time to time. And I myself have been caught off guard multiple times, and I've lost to Mikanko almost every game that I played against them because I personally have not been ready, which is what's prompted this counter guide. They also have a very great way to stall and grind. Given the inherent protection from battle damage and the ability of many Mikanko monsters to avoid destruction, the deck can adopt a stall strategy. By enduring the opponent's attacks and slowly chipping away at the resources, the Mikanko player can create a scenario where the opponent exhausts their options while the Mikanko player still has cards to play. And aside from working with Yugioh, who's a huge Mikanko advocate, I'm creating this counter guide specifically for him, so shout out to Yugioh for bringing this deck to my attention. I appreciate it, and now we're putting this deck and this counter guide on the spectrum so that nobody else falls victim to that damage redirection. In essence, the Mikanko deck doesn't rely on a singular overpowering win condition, but rather a blend of strategies that can catch opponents off guard and that can adapt to almost any situation. Recognizing the state of the game and choosing the right path to victory is crucial for countering this deck. Weaknesses of the Mikanko deck. What exactly are we looking for here? I'll tell you 3 weaknesses for the Mikanko deck right now. Number 1 is the most ultimate weakness that the Mikanko deck, and it's its heavy dependence on equipped spells. The Mikanko's deck strategy revolves significantly around equipped spells to enhance its monsters. Decks that can focus on spell trap removal can cripple the Mikanko's primary game plan, leaving them without their monsters and their crucial effects. They're also vulnerable to non-destruction removal. While many Mikanko monsters offer protections against battle or card effect destruction, they are notably susceptible to alternative forms of removal. Effects that banish, return to the hand or deck, or change control can bypass the Mikanko's defenses. And lastly, this is a personal opinion of mine. I'm not sure if this is something that corresponds to the masses or the Mikanko players out there, but the limited recovery options. If the Mikanko board is wiped out, especially after expanding key resources, the deck might struggle to rebuild. While there are some recovery mechanisms in this strategy, they are not robust as some other meta decks. What are the choke points in the Mikanko strategy and optimal disruption points? Understanding the choke points of the Mikanko deck is essential to disrupting its flow. Here's when to optimally use Ash Blossom, Infinite Impermanence, and Maxi, because those are the holy trinity of hand traps on Master Duel, and how you can use them to exploit the Mikanko deck choke points. In the initial setup, the early game is where the Mikanko deck tries to set the foundation for its strategy. Your number 1 target is going to be utilizing Ash against Ha-Ri the Sword Mikanko when it tries to equip for an equipped spell, or Hidden Armory when they attempt to fetch an equipped spell from the deck. This disrupts their equipped setup. You'll also want to utilize Imperm. Use it to negate the effect of Ha-Ri the Sword Mikanko or any other Mikanko monster trying to initiate its search effect. And for Maxi, while not as impactful during the setup phase, you can still use it if you anticipate a series of special summons, especially from effects like the Great Mikanko Ceremony. So your options for Maxi are rather low, but your options for Ash should always be Ha-Ri the Sword Mikanko and the Hidden Armory. You can still utilize Ash on other cards depending on game state, but you want to target those primarily. There you have it, folks. By tactically deploying Ash, Imperm, and Maxi at these choke points, you can cripple the Mikanko strategy, forcing them to either adapt or falter under the disruption. So now that we've covered some of the overviews, the way the Mikanko deck works, their win conditions, their weaknesses, and their choke points, when to Ash, when to Impermanent, when to Maxi, we're going to be jumping into direct disruptions. And I will not be covering Ash, Impermanent, Maxi because, again, that is the holy trinity of hand traps. If you're not playing that on Master Duel, you are only challenging yourself and creating an obstacle for yourself. So the following direct disruptions are purely for the purpose of making your matchup against the Mikanko deck a lot easier. Coming in at number 1 and number 2, we've got Book of Moon and Book of Eclipse. The Mikanko archetype's power comes from its face-up interactions, particularly with spells that are equipped. By turning these monsters face down, their interactions with equipped spells are severed. This not only disrupts the immediate synergy, but also wastes the Mikanko player's resources as they've likely invested cards to set up these interactions. Coming in at number 3, we've got Cosmic Cyclone. Beyond just removing the equipped spells, Cosmic Cyclone banishes them. No more recycling of their equipped spells. Similar to Impermanent Permanence, we have Effect Veiler, which is a great option for you. I didn't throw it in with the Holy Trinity because it could only be used during your opponent's turn and it can't be used during the battle phase. You can't set it, so it's still a great option to have. You could also even utilize Hey Trunade. Hey Trunade is a great resource for you to use, but again, it may or may not be a corresponding outlet for you as a counter because it's too focused on back row. But again, you can make it an arguable choice because Labyrinth is still out there and Labyrinth is doing fairly well. And in Master Duel, we do see a lot more back row than we do in TCG, so would not be a bad option. All right, moving on to board control and clearance. Of course, utilizing any kaiju, the damage redirection of Mikanko monsters can be a formidable defense, but kaijus will just simply bypass it entirely, not by engaging with the mechanic, but by removing it from the equation. These next two cards are actually some of my favorites. It's Deck Devastation Virus and Eradicator Epidemic Virus. These viruses prey on the inherent vulnerabilities in the Mikanko's composition by targeting their low attack mainstays and targeting their spell reliant strategy. These cards can dismantle the core's mechanics, leading to a disjointed and ineffective game plan for the Mikanko player. Dark Ruler No More is a little bit of an iffy one just because it stops monsters' effects. It's not really preventing the effects of the equipped spells. However, I love throwing Dark Ruler in here because it's a direct counter to multi-effect boards. So maybe the Mikanko player will have different monsters out on board aside from the Mikanko monsters. Who knows? But Dark Ruler No More, it's just so good. It silences a lot of established boards and gives you the opportunity for a clear path to engage without entanglement. And the number 1 card on this list, also a board breaker and a direct counter, but I wanted to list it in this category instead, is Harpy's Feather Duster. Equipped spells are the lifeblood of the Mikanko strategy. This card threatens not just the active plays, but the future ones as well. By clearing all set spells and possibly traps, you're not just disrupting the current turn, but potentially the next several, especially if they've kept key equipped spells in anticipation of future plays. These board breakers are pretty darn good, no lie. The Mikanko strategy is just really weak to board breaking cards like the viruses and Harpy's Feather Duster. So again, pick and choose wisely, test out, and make sure that these techs have synergy with your deck as well. And lastly, we're going to jump into the floodgates. We're looking at lockdown and restriction, goes and match, there can be only one, and rivalry of the warlords. These floodgates exploit the Mikanko's diversity. While the deck's variety is often a strength, these cards turn it into a liability. They force Mikanko players into making tough choices about which aspect of their strategy to prioritize, often leading to incomplete or compromised board states. And the next best card on this counter guide is Anti-Spell Fragrance. The pace of the game is crucial. Anti-Spell Fragrance doesn't just slow down the Mikanko deck, it alters their rhythm entirely. By forcing them to set spells, you're introducing a delay in their game plan. In a game where every turn counts in a best of one, this delay can be the difference between victory and defeat. Each of these counters, when viewed through the lens of the Mikanko's inherent dynamics and dependencies, showcases their potency. They don't just disrupt, they engage with the deck's core mechanics, often turning strengths into weaknesses and forcing the Mikanko player into uncomfortable and unfamiliar territory. Now, to give you my top 3 counters out of this entire list for the Mikanko strategy, number 1 is going to be, of course, Harpy's Feather Duster. Number 2 will be Anti-Spell Fragrance. And number 3 is going to be Book of Moon. Book of Moon has seen an exponential rise on Master Duel, and I don't want you to sleep on that tech. That tech is amazing. And not only is it good against Kashtira, it is amazing against the Mikanko strategy. And that's a wrap, folks, of our deep dive into countering the Mikanko strategy. Remember, every deck, no matter how formidable, has its vulnerabilities. It's all about understanding the mechanics, anticipating the plays, and having the right tools at your disposal. If you found this guide helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with your fellow duelists, and drop a comment below about your experiences countering and playing against the Mikanko strategy. Your feedback always helps us create better content for you, so please don't hold back any sort of constructive criticism when you are giving us the time to watch these counter guides. I'm Low Tier Hero, and this has been another insightful episode on Draw Phase. Stay sharp, keep those counters ready, and may your next duel be your best one. Until next time, duelists, take care.